Today on the podcast, we're talking arcades, marketing, and pro wrestling. This is the Kansas City Podcast. Welcome to the Kansas City Podcast. My name is Cole Emmerich. I'm the host with the most, always sounding braggadocio. You know, many of you know me as the sign flipper guy outside the tax shop. And if not, it's nice to meet you. You know, each week we are joined by a one-of-a-kind KC native for a conversation on life in the city of Fountains. What do you think of that?
Man, I really feel like I got to come through now.
You gotta really start out strong now. You know what, folks? I'm in the Crossroads. What is the official address I'm at right now?
101 Southwest Boulevard.
101 Southwest Boulevard. I am at Uptown. I'm at Uptown. So if you hear some loud clanging in the background or a pinball machine, or it's a happening place. There's people everywhere. Drinks are flowing. Tokens are falling. Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat are going crazy. Ding ding ding. So it's a fun, exciting time here at Uptown. And I'm here with none other. I'm very excited about having this gentleman on the show today. He's a man of many hats, but I will stick to the main ones. He is the marketing manager for Uptown. He's also the social media manager for the NWL, which we will get into wrestling later. Don't worry. This will be the wrestling show. We've got a lot of wrestling to talk about. David Hayden, welcome to the Kansas City Podcast.
Man, it's great to be here.
Well, thank you very much for being on the show. And I don't know, where do you want to start? Let's start Uptown. Uptown, man. I love Uptown.
I'm a fan myself.
You got a favorite game that you go play?
You know, it rotates so frequently. I'm here about 5 days a week.
Right.
And I've always said that when I come in and don't want to play a game every time I'm here, then it's probably time for me to replace them with a different client.
Okay.
And so it rotates. I'm kind of in a Dr. Mario phase right now.
Really? See, I always hated Dr. Mario. I always thought I was never a fan of Dr. Mario.
I like the challenge of it. You know, anybody can play Tetris.
Right.
But right. Dr. Mario is just a real unique challenge, and the games go a little bit quicker. Now, if I was hustling somebody,
yeah,
it's always Tron.
Okay.
Yeah, because I'm old enough to remember all the patterns, and if you don't know the patterns to the third stage of light bikes on Tron, you're never getting past it.
I always stop. If I see a Galaga machine, I'm playing Galaga. That's one of my all-time favorite games. I can't say I'm any good at it, but if I sit down and I see a Galaga, I'm playing Galaga.
I actually got to see a guy hit the kill screen in Galaga.
Really?
The
He
old
went to
games
the end.
will eventually run out of memory, and it's around level 250.
Damn.
And he hit it, and he pulled out his phone because he had 30 lives left, and actually recorded it for me of what it looks like when the game runs out of memory and reboots itself. And I never thought I would see it. I'm like a level 3 guy.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Like, if I'm lucky if I get 2 ships.
Right. Right. Yeah. If you get them side by side, you're really jamming out. But
really good.
I mean, there are people who are so phenomenal at all these games. Actually, probably the best one I saw was a guy here locally. Yeah. Actually, the number 1 and number 2 greatest joust players in the world live in Kansas City.
Right. Yes, yes, you're right. I remember hearing that.
Lonnie McDonald is number 1, and he came in, and we were the 123rd joust machine that he rolled over the score from 99999 over to zeros again.
Wow.
And I remember he sat down on a stool, put in his headphones. I offered him the tokens that were in my pocket, like 4 or 5.
Yeah.
And he hands me back all of them but 1 and says, I'll only need 1.
Whoa.
And just watching someone, I understand this video games, and somebody out there that's listening, why is it so cool to talk about video games, or why would somebody do that? When you see the greatest in the world at anything, I don't care what it is, the world's greatest anything is phenomenal to see, because you see someone that put in that level of commitment. It's really a joy to watch.
It's King of Kong fistful of quarters all over again. I mean, it's just nonstop craziness. I always find it interesting now that more than ever, the people that are always streaming games online, and now there's esports is crazy huge, because I was never a huge video game guy. I always watched though. I always liked watching and always cheering somebody on and everything. And I think I look at Up Down, I look at these other places, and so when I come back in here and I see people playing Mario Kart, I'm just like, oh, I know I can play that game. I know I can sit down and play it, but also at the same time, I'm just like, man, I feel like a kid right now. I feel like a kid again, going back and playing this shit.
Well, that's really the idea of the bar. I mean, people always ask me, like, is this an 80s bar? Is this a 90s bar? It's a when you were 13 bar.
Right.
You know, it's taking you back to that time when things were more carefree, and if you had a pocket full of quarters, you were in for a day of just whatever you wanted. And we want to take people back to that environment and that feeling. You know, we try to make it, you know, it's just completely enveloping with the 80s and 90s movies, with the old school wrestling on TV, and then having a very well curated selection of games, which a lot of people don't think about. They don't think about the mix of the games. Whereas in my position, it's thinking, how many fighting games do we have versus Nintendo games? How many games from the first golden age of arcades versus the second golden age of arcades? How many shooting games do we have?
Because you have to have a nice balance.
Well, and it's because there are different demographics that each set of games appeals to. When we first opened the place, the owner kind of laughed and said, "You see up there in that mezzanine, that's where you're going to find most of the women at tonight." And I said, "Oh, come on, that's anecdotal. That's not for real." Women love shooting games, the games where you tactile games where you're holding a gun or holding a steering wheel or something like that. You'll see disproportionate number of women drawn to those games. Mm-hmm. And it's not universal. And I'm not saying that no woman likes to play games with joysticks and buttons, but it is amazing how true it is. And, there's just certain sociological things that you learn from, looking at it at a different level that really make the industry so much fun and make every time we open a new location of Up Down so much fun.
And see, here's the thing that I'm always in the camp that the old school arcade games are always going to be better than anything that's new. So even when, there's some newer, and I say this from both only experience, but also, the games keep getting bigger and bigger. They're much more of an attraction now. Those games that are coming out now are humongous. I mean, they're absolutely huge. You see the big Rock'em Sock and Robots game. You see these big redemption games, like the big Jumbo Tower, that drops where you need, a 20-foot ceiling to even put it into an arcade. And at the end of the day, if I see a pinball machine, I'm going to pick the pinball machine. All right, now I know it's not the same for everybody, but for me, there is nothing that brings more joy to me than hitting a couple flippers on Lord of the Rings pinball or even an older school game versus some crazy app game what was that bird game where the bird flew?
Angry Birds.
No, not that one. Angry Bird. There was Flappy Bird or something like that, and they turned it into
Tiny Wing, Little Wing,
and they turned it into an arcade game, and it's just basically a flat screen, a giant iPad, and I'm just I don't want to play that. No, I'm not interested in a giant iPad. I want to see the ball go up the ramp.
There's a certain value in the nostalgia. We don't have any games that run off of flat screens.
Right.
And that is a conscious decision because those old CRT monitors are pretty hard to get a hold of, and they're really tough to maintain.
And they're heavy as hell.
Yeah, and they're not making them anymore.
Right.
And so we spend a lot of time recapping monitors and rebuilding monitors, and a lot more money, a lot more time to end up with something that isn't as clear of a picture. But the point is that it's the nostalgia of it, that it's real. And part of what we choose to do with the fact that the bar is very popular, and we're very fortunate, and Kansas City has really supported it, is that part of that is that we need to reinvest into these games to keep them around for another generation. We have probably between 100 and 200 games that aren't on location at any of our bars, that are in warehouses, that we are constantly buying new games and repairing them. And we have employees who never work inside the bar. All they do is repair games and get them ready to come to Kansas City or to our Minneapolis location or our Des Moines location, but they're restoring part of that heritage and keeping it alive for another generation. Because if you're 7 years old today, you don't even understand what a token's for.
Right.
You don't understand what a coin mechanism is, and you have to drop, a coin in to play a game.
What does this even mean? How does this work? This isn't a quarter.
This is a part of the shared experience of everyone over 30 that we're trying to keep alive for the next generation.
Right. So tell me about the basics of being the marketing manager here at Uptown. Tell me about your day. What do you do on any given day?
Well,
are you just? I mean, you said you're probably coming here and playing games, but come on, that's not all day, right?
Oh no.
You wish though, right?
I play a game every time I come in, but it's generally a very small part of the day. Well, let's talk about today. I woke up.
Yeah.
Checked all the messages from all 3 locations.
Okay.
You know, everybody who forgot their credit
now,
card
the 3
the night
locations
before.
are
Kansas City is actually the second location of Uptown, but it's kind of where I'm based out of.
Right.
You know, Des Moines was the original location, and then Minneapolis has opened since.
Right.
It's third, and we're working on St. Louis and Milwaukee.
Okay. So you check all the accounts.
Yeah. Make sure everything's good. Nothing happened overnight. Nothing. Nobody's trying to find a lost credit card, anything like that. And that happens over my morning coffee at about 8 a.m.
Right.
Let's see. Today, I talked to Venue up in Des Moines and worked on a co-promotion to give away tickets to a Corey Feldman concert. So I have to come up with a Corey Feldman.
And the Angels?
Yes. Themed giveaway.
Nice.
And we, kicked around some ideas for that. Worked on our 80s and 90s music video playlist that we'll be doing on Friday and Saturday night to celebrate Halloween. We currently, as you arrived, I was talking to some people from Visit KC, the Convention and Visitors Bureau, who are doing the pickup event for their beer passports.
Nice.
Today. I made sure that all 3 locations had new posts.
Yeah.
Communicated with 2 of the 3 general managers, so
you're a man of many talents. You got stuff going on. It's never a dull moment. Is what you're saying.
It's keeping the plate spinning, because what you see on social media is an image that required somebody to come out and photograph, that required the editing, that might be promoting an event that I might have had 2 or 3 conversations and meetings to set up and things like that.
Yeah.
That it's really bringing a lot of pieces together, but as challenging as it is, and as often as, I'll talk to, 20, 30 people in a day to try to set things up.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I'm trying to come up with the promotion for Corey Feldman. And
that's right.
I mean, I could be booking the sales training in Saginaw, Michigan. I could be doing something just completely cubicle based, and instead, it just becomes second nature. It's just kind of what you do. But then you look back and go, man, I have a really weird job some days.
Do you have an event that you're like incredibly proud of? Like something that you guys pulled off that you were like, damn, look at this.
Yeah.
We did it.
Actually, I have one that I'm real proud of.
Okay.
We had a beer company come in, and they said, we want to have an event. And I'm like, yeah, we have a skee ball tournament, Mario Kart tournament. And they said, no, we got a budget. We want to really have an event. And they told me the budget, and then they said, what's the craziest thing you've ever thought of? And I said, human foosball.
Okay.
I then had to contact contractors who generally hang up the phone when you tell them that you're looking to have a human foosball court built. But we had a 10-foot by 40-foot original court built that is... I've looked at a lot of human foosball courts to compare it to.
That's pretty big. That's
there
gotta
was
be the biggest, right?
It took up our parking lot.
Okay.
We there's never been one built like this. It was large enough that the poles that went across could support 3 grown men.
Oh, wow.
And as they hung from it and hooked the ball from the team in front of them, there were a lot more bloody shins once people realized that could happen.
Yeah.
But, we had everything from aerial drones shooting footage to, a motion picture director making the advertising footage that went ahead with the company. We had a lot of local artists. Psych Style did the court that went down in front of it. We had another local artist work on the trophy. We raised a ton of money for KC Pet Project and did a great job promoting a beer company that came in and said, hey, let's do something cool.
So what you're saying is that if you have a lot of money, contact David, and he will make something crazy happen.
If you
like
want
a giant foosball court. Human foosball. Sorry, I have to be.
I have managed to build a set of contacts that don't laugh at me.
I'm sorry. I'll take it back.
No. They don't laugh when I call them and say I want to build a human foosball court. It's just. Fortunately, I work for a company that trusts me to try to do things that shouldn't be done. and have developed enough of a reputation as a guy who can pull off things that shouldn't be done, that if you want to do something that shouldn't be done, I might be your guy.
You might be the guy. You might pull it off.
I'm going to go down swinging if I don't.
Let's talk wrestling. Can we talk wrestling?
I love talking wrestling almost as much as I love talking video games.
All right, so NWL.
The National Wrestling League.
The National Wrestling League, based out of Kansas City.
Yes.
You do their social media.
Yes.
But if I'm not mistaken, isn't the NWL, it's not just Kansas City, though, right?
No. When I started with the company, they were expanding into 8 different markets around the region. So St. Louis, St. Joseph, Topeka, Wichita, Tulsa, Joplin, and Springfield.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a world-class wrestling league. It is the only wrestling league in the country that treats their full-time roster as employees, meaning that they get 401k, they get health insurance, they get full benefits, which is something that not even the big guys do.
Right, the WWE does not do
No,
that.
everybody else treats them as independent contractors,
right,
and it's
exactly.
all out of Kansas City, where they're really changing the industry.
All right, so I'm going to, if you don't like nerdy wrestling talk, I'm going to get real nerdy here for a second.
Oh,
so is
bring it.
NWL just kind of like the new territory system? Are you trying to be the new territory system? If you don't know what that means, I'm sorry. There are probably some people that are going to listen to me saying, they go, what the hell wrestling he's talking about? I'm sorry, we're going to get real hardcore nerd here on wrestling for a second. Is it like a new territory system? Is that what you, is it, like, do you feel it that way?
The model is very similar to the territories.
Okay.
And what made the territory system great, and what to give a little background of the territories.
Okay, you give the background.
Let's go with the basics.
The basics.
Once upon a time,
yes,
back in the 70s and 80s, early 80s, were kind of the heydays of the territory system
in pro wrestling.
Yes.
The territory system, and we got to be clear here. The territory system of pro wrestling.
Right.
Yes.
You would have different regions. So you had Bob Geigel and Harley Race ran Kansas City. Vern Gagne ran out of Minnesota. The Von Erichs out of Texas.
You had the Hearts.
Jerry Lawler. Yeah, Hearts were out of Calgary.
Yeah, Calgary.
Jerry Lawler out of Memphis, Tennessee.
And then Vince McMahon
ran out of New York.
Yes.
And eventually...
That's Vince McMahon Sr., not Jr.
Correct.
Yes.
So when they kind of moved in, eventually McMahon took over everything. But prior to this, if you had the Kansas City territory, they would shoot at Memorial Hall,
right,
over in KCK. But prior to that, they would do that show on Thursday night. They would tape, but then they would be in St. Joe on Friday, and they would be in Topeka on Sunday, and then drive down to Joplin or kind of all around the area, and they would do shows nightly to where they were working 6 to 7 shows a week.
Right.
And a lot of times it would be the same match because there wasn't that communication between the cities of what happened the night before. There was no internet. The best you could get is a local newspaper reporter to write about it.
Yeah.
To some extent, I think that what NWL does is take back to those days, and is that you don't have to watch 2 years worth of programming to understand the characters. When someone comes out, you know that they're a good guy or a bad guy just by the way they present themselves.
There's no tweeners.
Right. And there's a certain catharsis to being able to yell at a guy
because he's the bad guy.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the fact that you're yelling at him and telling them he sucks means that he's doing his job really well.
Right.
And I went to the Chiefs game last Sunday. And, all the Chiefs fans left upset because the Chiefs lost.
Right.
If the guy that I'm rooting for in a pro wrestling match loses, that doesn't hurt my feelings.
Right.
That doesn't ruin my night. I rooted for the guy. He lost. Maybe he got screwed over by the bad manager or whatever. But when I walk out, I know that there's going to be another match again. I know it's going to happen all over again. And so you get all of the fun and excitement of going and rooting for your team, but none of the downside.
So... with NWL, where does NWL have their shows at? Because they're at the...
here in Kansas City, they do shows at the Scottish Rite Temple.
Right, okay.
And then they also do it at the Abdallah Shrine Temple.
Okay. And is that once a month? Is it every week?
It's actually every 2 weeks it alternates.
Okay.
So this Saturday night, Jeremy Wyatt is taking on Jack Foster in a dog collar match.
Oh, in a dog collar match.
To settle the feud. And Thor Terrio will be facing the Raging Bull Maverick If Dortario loses, he gets his beautiful locks shaved.
Oh.
But if he wins, he gets 5 minutes in the ring with the Raging Bulls manager, Drew Gold.
Oh, my goodness.
So, I mean, this is a battle of the ages.
Got it.
Until 2 weeks from now, when it will be the battle of the ages again. And that's the beautiful part of working for that organization, is that it's so over the top.
Yeah.
It's pro wrestling. Everything has to be over the top. And each account and each client I deal with has their own voice.
Yeah.
And none of their voices are my voice. Up, down, we never use exclamation marks.
Okay.
We never say that we have the best, the greatest, the fastest, the shiniest, or anything like that. We don't brag. We let other people say nice things about us. We speak as it is. Whereas you go to the wrestling league, and every 2 weeks we have the match that you cannot miss,
right,
because you will be talking about Jack Foster and Jeremy Wyatt and dog collars to your grandkids one day, and you don't want grandkids to say, your grandkids say, Grandpapa Cole, why weren't you at Jeremy Wyatt versus Jack Foster?
How could
in
you
a dog
miss
collar
that match? Yes. How
because
could you
as
miss
far as
it?
I'm concerned, all anybody will talk about their grandkids, with their grandkids about is pro wrestling that happens every 2 weeks here in Kansas City, Missouri.
I like it. All right. Do you see anybody from NWL making the jump to the big leagues? They moving. I mean, I hate to say like there's lesser tiers or whatever, but I mean, obviously, if you're a pro wrestler, you want to end up in you would hope that you want to end up maybe in WWE or possibly Japan or something like that. Mm-hmm. You want your name to be known around the world. Do you feel like is NWL getting the looks? Are we going to see an NWL wrestler in WWE?
I mean, we see WWE wrestlers in NWL. Ace Steel, who's NWL Tag Team Champion. He was the guy who trained CM Punk.
Yep.
He trained Colt Cabana.
Yep.
He's part of the Tag Team Champions. He was in the WWE. Dak Draper wrestled under another name in NXT. Mm-hmm. Michael Strider wrestled for the WWE for a bit.
Yep.
Recently, Marty Bell, who runs the Twitter account, who I see in the office all the time, was just on the Mae Young Classic.
That's right.
For the
she was
WWE.
on the Mae Young Classic. Yep.
I don't think it's a matter of if, but when.
Yeah.
And, there have been wrestlers, and I shouldn't speak out of school, so
Okay.
I won't name any names, but there have been wrestlers who turned down opportunities to go back to NXT.
Yeah.
Who chose to stay in Kansas City rather than going to Orlando to get on with the WWE, because the idea of having security, of having a salary, of having benefits. I mean, the NWO gets to recruit the best wrestlers from around the country because they offer something that no other league can.
Yeah.
And so if you're not at the WWE yet, but you want to have the ability to support a family, raise a family, have a quality of life that doesn't require you going out, trying to get yourself booked 2 or 3 nights in a row every weekend, driving 1,000 miles between shows so you can make $250, $500.
Yeah.
And that's if you're good.
Yeah.
If you would rather have the security of a world-class training facility in North Kansas City that's all yours to use, coaches to help you with every part of your development as a character, in-ring time, on-air time, all of those things, the NWL is the place to be. And so it's not just people from Kansas City. I mean, there's Wyatt and Strider who are Kansas City legends, who have been the core of Kansas City wrestling for the last 15 years.
Right.
But there's also the Royal Bloods, Logan and Sterling Regal, who are the best up-and-comers out of Kansas City. They're twins that are high flyers that can compete with anybody in town or anybody in the world, really, and they're from Lee Summit.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just there's some homegrown talent mixed with people from around the country that all came together to create a brand that was something special right here in Kansas City.
I like it. I dig it. All right. We're going to take a quick break. Be right back here with David in just a bit. And now for a couple readings from our brand new reviews. Here we go. I listened to it for the Kansas City quiz. It's a great way to learn about the city and people that live in it. Well, that's not a bad review. I like that one. Here's a good one. Room for improvement. 2 stars. The host sounds like he's trying way too hard and can sometimes come off like an 80s morning zoo radio DJ. It simply sounds inauthentic. Interesting. Well, folks, if you'd like to leave a review, go iTunes, Stitcher, wherever you listen to the Kansas City podcast and tell us what you think. You know, maybe I am just nothing but a morning zoo DJ. I don't know. If I lived at the zoo, I would definitely be the chimpanzees, if I had to think about it. Probably the way to go. But anyway, beside the point. When I think of morning zoo DJ, I think of a chimpanzee running around with a microphone. All right. Write us a review. Tell us what you like about the show. Tell us what you don't like. And maybe, just maybe, I'll read your review. Back to the show. Welcome back to the Kansas City Podcast. Cole Lindbergh. I'm here with David Hayden. David, during the break, David and I went down and we had a skee ball tournament, and he kicked my ass. Just hardcore. It was really bad. It's
a lot of practice.
But then, even though it was like a consolation prize, he got me a pale ale.
Well, we got to support our neighbors down the street.
That's right. Exactly correct. Hey, David, it's time for our favorite part of the show. It's time for the Casey quiz.
Okay.
All right, David, you know how this works. Here's the deal. I'm going to ask you some questions, Kansas City related, some not. You will be rewarded points, okay? 50 points max. If I give you a question you don't like it, you can always just say, stupid question, okay? And of course, folks, remember, you can always tweet your questions to us at Kansas City Pod if you have a question that you'd like to add to the KC quiz. David, are you ready?
Fire away.
I always start with this question. It's a popular question. Here we go. Your favorite Kansas City restaurant that is not barbecue. What do you got? This is a nice, like, get started. How you feeling? Favorite restaurant that's not barbecue.
I spent 20 years in the restaurant industry,
okay,
and was a restaurant blogger, and
you wrote a book.
Yeah, before I got into this.
Okay.
So
you can say up.
There
down.
are more politics involved in my answer to this question than I can even imagine.
If
so
you want to
I'm going to back up my answer and say the last restaurant that I worked at was the Majestic.
Mm.
And I think that the Majestic is the quintessential Kansas City experience. Built in 1911.
Mm-hmm.
It was built as Fitzpatrick Saloons during Prohibition. There was a speakeasy in the basement that is now the Live Jazz Club, where future jazz legends like Herman Mehari, Mark Lowry, Brom Winans became good friends of mine. I proposed to my fiance in the basement of the Majestic, and the top floor has the only private cigar and scotch club in Kansas City, which is a room that just reeks of masculinity and 50-year-old stale cigar smoke. Over 200 whiskeys behind the bar, and the best brunch in Kansas City. Sorry, Jasper. You're number 2, but I'm going with the Majestic.
Going with the Majestic. I like it. That was a very good answer.
I will give you shorter ones to the rest.
No. You please. Lengthen it out, my friend. 5 points for that one. Very good. Okay, so now we're going to switch it around here. I know you got to be political here.
Mm-hmm.
This is a very popular question. A lot of people have varying degrees of answers to this.
Okay.
Favorite barbecue? David just took a deep breath, just kind of thinking to himself, oh no, who am I going to piss off now by answering this question?
I fortunately don't have a lot of I'm not in the barbecue end of the business.
Okay, so you could go
so
crazy
I'm pretty
here.
safe. This is like a legitimate thought process.
Mm-hmm.
I would have to go with Oklahoma Joe's.
Okay.
Oklahoma Joe's, the Z-Man,
yeah,
is kind of my sustenance. It's where I go most of the time I'm looking for barbecue.
That's a popular answer.
Yeah.
Oklahoma Joe's. I like it. All right. Here we go. You ready for your next one?
Mm-hmm.
Your favorite local brew. You got a favorite local brew?
You know, I'm actually just finished my 12th year of sobriety.
Congratulations.
Then
this question is a stupid question.
There weren't a lot of local breweries around. However, I happen to deal with... I spend more time talking and discussing and working with beer companies and encouraging people to drink than any sober person ever should.
You know what? That just came to me. Yes, you are sober, but you have to talk about beer all day.
I'm surrounded by beer. I'm wearing a beer hat right now. I'm surrounded by beer merchandise.
So then, who's the best to work with? No, you can't say that.
I really shouldn't say Boulevard.
Okay.
But yeah. I gotta show love to my guys up the street.
There we go. All right, here we go. This is a good one right here. More streetcar? Do you like the streetcar? What's your thoughts on the streetcar?
I rode the streetcar here.
Okay.
I actually finished a meeting at the NWL and had my assistant drop me off there on her way home. Took the streetcar here. We'll probably have dinner right down here. Just call up my fiance when I'm done here and say, hey, come meet me for dinner. I love the streetcar because it does a really good job of getting me from point A to point B. I had a meeting the other day at the Steamboat Arabia, then another at the NWL, and finished my day at Uptown and didn't have to park, didn't have to drive, took the streetcar the whole way. I'm a big fan. As far as expansion, I'm a strong believer that if we're going to provide more mass transit, the function of it needs to not be to make life more convenient for me. Yeah. I can afford a car. I can afford an Uber. What I would like to see is our city get real serious about moving from east to west and taking people from areas that there's a lot of people looking for jobs to areas downtown where a lot of employees are needed. I think that if we're going to put government money and tax dollars towards mass transit, it's got to be east-west to help our economy thrive and help all parts of our city.
Got it. 5 points. Well done. All right, here we go. Next question. You are the only person I can ask this question to.
Fire away.
Because you are a pro wrestling guy.
I am.
Favorite old school pro wrestler?
Harley Race.
Harley Race?
Yeah.
Why Harley Race?
Harley Race was Kansas City wrestling when I was a kid. He actually owned the Kansas City territory, but beyond that, he was the last of the great shooters. See, once upon a time, the champion would travel between territories.
Right.
And there was a lot of incentive to try to beat the champion and have your local guy be the champion. Harley Race was the last guy that they trusted to take that belt between all the territories, and if someone did get a little too real with him and did start shooting on him, Harley could take care of business. There was said that Andre the Giant only feared two men in the world, and that was Meng and Harley
Meng.
Race.
Okay.
And I've met Meng, and I haven't met Harley, but he's on my list.
All right.
A very, very short list.
All right, so second part of the question. Favorite pro wrestler working today? What do you got?
Yeah, I work with like 3 pro wrestlers on like a weekly basis.
I know that.
I don't know which one of these guys that I'm most afraid of.
See, I have a different answer because I don't work with any pro wrestlers, so I can't, I've got different opinions on this.
It's a little different, but since he is always helping me out and kind of bailed me out today personally, I'm going to say Thor Terrio, who I am hoping does not get his head shaved in that big match against the Raging Bull Maverick, and instead gets 5 minutes with Drew Gold this Saturday night at the Scottish Rite Temple.
That's right.
Tickets available at nwleague.com.
Here we go. This is a Kansas City question. What are the things on top of Bartle Hall? Those little sculptures. What do you call them? What do you think they are?
They're space stations.
They're space stations?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, they're like the Jetsons, you know?
I never thought of it that way.
Oh, wow. Okay, that was a Rorschach test there, because I just assumed that's what everybody thought they were.
Oh, no, see, I thought the one was like a hair curler. And then the one is like a ball of like a crazy orb, you know?
Okay, the ones at the Nelson are shuttlecocks.
That's true. We can't agree on that one. We can agree on that one. Here we go. Do you got a favorite bar other than Uptown? You're gonna go with Uptown. Wait. Let's turn this into 2 questions here. Your favorite place to hang out? It's like because you're here all the time, so
Yeah.
I don't think that's fair. So like favorite bar, favorite place to hang out. Do you like to go somewhere else?
There's a lot of assumption that other arcade bars, there's a rivalry between the arcade bars in
big.
town, and
You're gonna put them in the ring.
we have no rivalry at all. I mean, I remember sitting in this room with the general manager here and being like, "And wouldn't it be great if there was like a place where we could go and play video games and like they had beer and nobody asked us to do anything, if something went wrong, it wasn't our fault." And we could just relax and have fun.
It's like we want to go to our place, but not be in charge.
Yeah, I was at Tapgate 2 weekends ago. I'm a big fan of Draftcade actually up in Zona Rosa.
Yeah, that's brand new.
I mean, yeah, I think their game selection is a little bit different than ours. There are a lot of early '80s games that I like a lot, and so yeah, I mean, I kind of like the other arcade bars in town.
You a sports fan?
I'm a reasonable sports fan.
Greatest KC athlete of all time. Who you got?
Man, I gotta go George Brett.
Going Brett?
Yeah, I mean, I was 10 years old in 1985. I mean, every kid wanted to be number 5 on every team, and I'm not easily intimidated. I've met most of my heroes in life, and George Brett still makes me nervous every time I talk to him. I can't get by it.
You get
I
like
waited
sweaty
on
palms.
him. I waited on him a dozen times, and I cross paths with him ever so often, and I never been anything but kind and courteous and cool to me. Still makes me like 10 years old again.
You start like you get a little like
yeah. It's he's George Brett.
Yeah. All right,
that's cool.
5 points. Here we go. This is a big one right now. This was actually a Twitter question somebody sent in. What's the one thing in town that everybody should try at least once? Or do at least once? I know, that's a good one. I like to think of this as 2 different ways. Like if you just had a friend that said, hey, what's something I should go do? But I also think of it as like somebody like, hey, you're coming in from out of town. Hey, we're coming into town from Kansas City. Where should we go? What should we do?
Okay, I just did this 2 weekends ago.
Okay.
If someplace to go, Chapel's Bar and Grill in North Kansas City, Missouri, on Armour Road. If you are in the least bit a sports fan, you have to go there. I grew up. I went to North Kansas City High School. My dad's office used to be 2 doors down from there when I was in high school. It was just the restaurant that we always went to with my dad, and you kind of get immune to the fact that it's one of the top 10 sports bars in the country, according to Sports Illustrated. They have a Lombardi trophy. They have a World Series trophy. They have a Golden Glove. They have, the Heisman that was presented to Paul Hornick. And these aren't replicas. This is the actual trophy that they handed out to the 73 A's after the World Series, and it's just sitting behind the bar. A lot of locals don't know about Chapels, but if you are in the least bit a sports fan, or you have a sports fan coming to visit you, take them there. The same weekend, we did that on Friday, and on Saturday we went to the Boulevard Brewing Tour.
Yeah.
Definitely a great time. If you haven't been in a couple years, the new beer hall that they have built down there is phenomenal. It is a great venue, and go check out Boulevard.
Good. I like it. Couple more questions here. Your favorite venue, or here we go. Your favorite local event. You got a favorite local event?
My favorite local events.
Yeah, something you go to every year. There's a lot of them. A lot of local events. You could say something up-down related as well.
Yeah, I mean, first off, I go to First Friday every month.
Okay.
Yeah. And I love First Friday, and I think that it's definitely something that everyone should appreciate about Kansas City. Favorite local event. I'm going to be a homer and go back to my hometown. The Snake Saturday Festival and Parade in North Kansas City is just
St.
something
Patty's.
that everybody should come check out. And another bucket list item I got to knock off was I got to be a judge of the Snake Saturday Parade.
Really?
Last year. Yeah, it was cool.
How was that?
I'm not going to lie. It was cold. And it's a lot of work to be a judge. I think it might have been a lot more work because they might have been moving a little faster because we were at the end of the route and it was really cold that day.
Yeah.
But it was very cool to like think of all the parades
what was your
I was in
judging
as a
criteria
kid.
when you were looking at stuff?
You had
were you
5 different categories and you were ranking 1 to 5 and it was you got a book of ballots. We were fed breakfast and then sequestered in the police station until it was time to come out and judge. It's a very serious.
They didn't want anybody like influencing.
Wow. No, and if they would have handed out In a Tub tacos, I would have been influenced. But no, it's a great organization though. Over the last 30 years, they've given away $1 million to Northland charities, and that's something that people don't realize is how much money is given out by these local parades and how important they are to community organizations. And that really made me feel good about being a part of it.
Nice. 5 points. Well done. Here we go. Big question here. What's Kansas City missing? You're a longtime KC native. You've lived here, since you were how old?
I was born here.
Okay, you were born here all the time. All right. What are we missing? It's a tough one.
Kansas City is lacking a common unifying bond that brings together independent pieces of the city. I mean, I'm a Northland guy.
Right.
And I know for most of my life you had to have something pretty extreme to cross that river.
Yeah.
Most people from Johnson County think that the Northland is an airport.
Yes.
And it's way up there.
Yes.
And I'm just, I fortunately, because of business, I've gotten more used to Johnson County. I'm learning Lee Summit. I'm learning Independence. I'm learning the different parts of this city. And I think that we have a tendency as a city to be territorial.
Okay.
And 2 years ago, when the Royals won the World Series, we all came together and we all met we all met in the crossroads. We all met at Union Station.
Everyone
and we celebrated together. And that was such an incredible time that I really wish we had more things that would unify our city and bring it together and make people from all of the suburbs and all of the counties, even the extended area, proud to say, not, the can't say joke is, what high school did you go to? Right. Where did you graduate from? So I can know something about you instantly that I'm going to filter through and have something to think of you about. Instead, no, I want to have something that makes us all proud to be Kansas Cityans again.
I like it. One more question. 10 points, by the way.
Okay.
That was a beautiful answer.
Yeah, I'm wondering on these ones that you don't say 5 points.
10 points. Here we go. This is the final question. It's time for the Google Challenge.
Okay.
Okay, the Google Challenge. You're a computer guy. You probably know how this works. So I went to the Google machine, and I typed in the following phrase. Mm-hmm. And I waited for Google to autofill. Okay?
Okay.
So I typed in, arcades are... blank. What's the blank there at the end? Arcade. When you type into Google, arcades are, what comes up?
I'm going to say awesome.
Okay. You go with awesome.
I'll go with awesome.
So there were two. So the first one, it wasn't awesome. The first thing that popped up is arcades are dead. How do you feel about that?
I think that anybody who has ever been to an up-down on a Friday or Saturday night at any of our locations
that's the thing.
knows that arcades are not dead.
When I type in barcades, it doesn't come up with anything.
Well, that's actually because barcade is a trademark term.
Oh, okay.
Of Barcade of New York City.
Oh,
and we found this out when a reporter, when we opened our first location in Des Moines, said... called it a barcade, just thinking they were being pretty creative and unique.
And so then
came
New
up
York
with the
came
name.
a-calling.
So we got a cease and desist letter from the company in New York, and that got leaked to another reporter who wrote a tremendous article online. And if you're into First Amendment-y type stuff, I challenge you to go look it up. It's something called Des Moines Barcade sued by Barcade for calling itself a barcade. And the reporter then proceeded to take their cease and desist order and see how many times he could work the word barcade into an article. And the last paragraph of the article was something like, Oh, and by the way, barcade, 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 and just repeated it across the bottom of the page just to make sure that if anybody wanted to send any more lawyers, they could go talk to him.
So the first one was arcades are fun. Or the arcades are dead.
Mm-hmm.
Then it was arcades are fun. So it's both like an optimistic and a pessimistic thing when you look it up in Google.
I think arcades are fun.
I agree as well. I don't think arcades are dead at all.
No.
And as people listen to this episode and they hear the ringing of the tickets and stuff in the background, they're going to say, that place sounds pretty hopping.
Yeah, and we tried to find the quietest spot we could.
We did.
I mean, we put some work into that. So
we went out of our way.
I think that, in general, we've gotten to the point where, and everybody does at a certain age, I think that where just going to a bar just to drink, I mean, it's great to go have a beer, it's great to go have a drink, but you don't want to just do that. You don't want that to be the focal point of the evening.
Right.
And, before my 12 years of sobriety, I spent plenty of nights sitting at bars watching lumberjack challenges on ESPN The Ocho because they happened to be the only thing on. I mean, a daytime bartender at a sports bar, which I spent plenty of time doing. I mean, I remember watching the Spelling Bee because it was the best competition on TV at the time, and I actually kind of got into that one. But, the idea of combining entertainment with 60 craft beers on tap and really offering a greater value to the guest. I think when people come to understand that arcade games and beer go so well together, it's revitalizing the industry.
Absolutely. You know what? Great answer. Let me tally up your points here. Carry the 1, 5. Yeah, you're 48 points.
Hey, that's good, right?
That's fantastic.
Okay.
We'll put you on the leaderboard there up on the website. David, thank you so much for taking the Casey quiz.
Nah, it's been a pleasure.
All right, we're back here with David. David, we're nearing the end of our time here today. We've had a lot of fun. We've talked arcades. We've talked pro wrestling. Tell some people where they can find you or where they can find Up Down. This is your time to shine. This is your plug section of the show. Break it down. I know you've got a million different things going on, but what should people look for?
I promote other people professionally.
Yes. So you have a very nice spot here.
Yeah.
You can pick who you want to promote.
Yeah.
Give them that extra bump. The Kansas City Podcast bump.
Go visit Up Down Arcade Bar.
Okay.
At updownkc.com. National Wrestling League at nwlleague.com. And there's a bunch of others, but they're not as fun as arcades and wrestling, so I'm not going to tell everybody to. If you spend enough time on the internet looking at websites in Kansas City, you'll run across some of my clients.
Yeah.
And if you want to know my deep inner thoughts about the restaurant industry from my days as a blogger, go to hospitalityformula.com.
I like it. Any crazy things coming up at Up Down here throughout November into December? Anything that you can reveal right now?
Man, in Des Moines we're having a Corey Feldman contest. Well, it's going to be really interesting when I figure it out.
The Corey Feldman contest.
I would say that one of the funnest things to do at Up Down, you always find me here on Tuesday nights.
Okay.
Tuesday night we do something called a Local Tuesday, where we have a local band come in and they hang out. They don't perform. We play nothing but local music all night, and the band hangs out and they meet their fans, which, people meet musicians at shows, and, while the drummer's unloading all of his drums and trying to get set up or tear down, or why there's all these things happening, and they're at work, and there's adrenaline and things like that.
Yeah,
it's a great opportunity to come in and meet bands, in a natural, relaxed environment. They have free tokens to give to you, which is a great conversation starter. And we've had everybody from, the greeting committee and Hembry and Yes You Are, to some great up-and-coming bands. Last night, Jessica Page was in. She's awesome. I'm With Stupid is in next week. Seth's Crew came and did their record release party with us. Loogie is getting his record release party coming up here soon. I mean, we really do what we can to support the local musicians. We also offer $1 off all local beers that night. So it's really just a celebration of all things local. And a really cool night to be at Uptown because it's not too crowded and you can get in on the games.
Nice. Folks, remember, you can always find me on Twitter at Cole Lindbergh. Make sure to check out our website, theKansasCityPodcast.com, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at Kansas City Pod. David, any last words before we go?
Play more arcade games, watch more wrestling, enjoy Kansas City. It's a spectacular place.
We'll end it on that. Folks, thanks again for listening. We'll see you next week here on the Kansas City Podcast. See you later.